Okay, it's 6. We have a quorum. Russell and Brandy are on the Zoom. Tina Walters, chair.
Christy Evans, vice chair.
Shotzi, at large, yeah.
Russell Byerly at large.
And Brandy.
Oh, sorry, I lost internet for a second. Brandy Wilbur at large.
All right, stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag
of the
United
States
States of America.
and to the
To the
republic which
republic
stands,
for its
one nation,
nation, under God, indivisible,
Visible,
liberty,
liberty, and justice for
Future.
all.
Number 3, do we have any general public comment? Okie dokie. Number 4, approval of the minutes for the meeting of January 9th and the special meeting from the 23rd. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 9th meeting and the January 23rd special meeting.
All right, do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public safety updates. We have Deputy Cruz here. Welcome.
Deputy Jackson Cruz with the Sheriff's Office. As I'm sure you've all heard, there was a homicide in Fish Springs on January 22nd. That was a long day for me and my coworkers, naturally. It's an active investigation. So we have a lot of people working on it. Of course, if you have any info that might help us out, we welcome that. And as of now, the residential burglaries that we were fielding in Fish Springs have slowed down quite a bit. So it appears that there is possibly some connection there. Hopefully that trend continues, but the homicide trend doesn't. Other than that, trying to get people to slow down through town. Did a traffic stop on a tractor trailer today. Guy was in a hurry to get from Portland to Winnemucca. And that's been about the flavor of things around here. Be happy to take questions if there are any, or we can chat afterward if you'd like.
How many people live out there in Fish Springs?
I don't know exactly. And I think the actual census data is pretty spotty.
Yeah.
And people come and go a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the information that has come through from the anonymous tip lines is all pretty speculative. But from what we gather so far, a group of individuals is pretty widely known for committing residential burglaries. So we're collecting more and more of those names and their associates. And like I said, actively looking into them. If I were to estimate how many people are out there, I mean, it's a huge valley. I don't know, maybe 100 people total, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any more questions?
I'd also add that in my interactions with some of the folks in Fish Springs, there are people who live there who don't participate in that kind of activity naturally. Mm-hmm. And they're concerned about the well-being of their families and the security of their properties. Something came up in a previous CAB meeting where a discussion arose about inviting members of the community from beyond Empire Gerlach. So in a couple conversations with some of the homeowners I've worked with there, I did mention that we have these meetings and that they're open for people in the area. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
So obviously it's a long drive and it's a longer drive today. But I'll keep extending that offer.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
All right.
tell them we'd love to see them.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Captain Pritchard, how are you today?
Captain Pritchard for the record. So last month was a pretty slow month for us, knock on wood. This month is turning out to be a little bit busier for us. We're at 4 calls from last month. We had 2 transports, one by Care Flight and 1 ground transport to Reno. The other calls ranged from just move down or direct responses to Pyramid Lake for calls for service down there, of which, just based off of triaging those particular calls, we requested mutual aid from Northline if they were available, just based off of the severity of those calls, which then turned our Gerlach units back around to come back to town because they were able to handle those. This evening, actually, during a transport, Medic 83 broke down again. During a transport of a patient to the hospital. However, Pyramid Lake was able to meet the crew and we were able to rectify that situation pretty quickly and get the patient off to the hospital without too much delay. So other than that, we had a pretty good turnout for our hazmat refresher training we did last weekend, which was great. We're required to do that every year to keep up our skills. We do have quite a bit of hazmat that comes through this particular area. So it was good for us to all get together, the group of us that did show up and participate in that training. So more trainings to come. I'm sure you guys will start seeing us a little bit more active as the weather starts warming up with our fire trainings that we're doing, because we're going to be trying not to do them just here at the station. We're going to try and spread out throughout the community, use different various areas for that. So you guys may see us running lights and sirens through town just for the training aspect if we're training individuals on how to do that particular part of the function, or if we're responding to fake calls, if you will. So,
And on those days, will you put like something out on Facebook?
Yes.
Saying,
Yeah, we'll make sure something's out on Facebook. And also, because of the breakdown of Medic 83 this evening, we do have a Truckee Meadows ambulance coming up again to loan to us. So we're not having to run out of our second out ambulance, even though it's a very strong power horse. And I'm sure would do just fine. We want to try and keep it in reserve status as long as we can for those more second out type of calls. So, but other than that, is there any questions from anyone?
Shotzi?
Yes. Hi. Thank you for that update and for being here and doing the job. My understanding, and if you can speak to this, would be that the tribal council held a meeting and they determined that they were not going to continue our fire contract past June. Are you aware of that? And if you are, and it's true, has there been any motion on what we're going to do after June?
Yes and yes. I was aware I did partake in the meeting in January, along with the meeting, actually both meetings in January, because it was January. Sorry, all the days have kind of ran together the last couple months. But yes, I was aware. I am actively meeting with the county. I'm sure Manager Brown will speak to that if he needs to, or at a later time, maybe have more updates for that. But right now it's still in its infancy planning, but I am actively in conversation with the county to make sure we have a plan in place for 12:01 a.m. on July 1st.
Also understand that they did find some money. Thank you very much, County. And are we back at full service again?
We are not. We are down to only having 2 days of brownout, which are Tuesdays and Wednesdays now. But we're now covered from Thursday through Monday. So only 2 days now that we're not covered. But we still have ALS services available all of those days, unless we have to downstaff, which at this point, I don't think we are having any plans for that at this point.
Thank you for that forward movement.
Christy?
Question for you. There was talk, I know we had talked briefly about like maybe we could offer and I never remember the name of it, but some, basic training for members of the community if they were interested. Did that ever go out, and was there ever any interest in that?
We did put out the flyer for the emergency medical responder course to generate that interest list. I've had one person show interest in it out of the entire community. We did offer it to the deputies as well. They were interested. And then we did have some folks that initially were interested at the school, but once the flyer went out, it's been crickets. We had just one person come up and say that they were interested. So, but we did put out the publicity for it, and we're going to continue to put out the publicity for it, just to see if we can still generate that interest list if anybody is interested.
Okay. So there's still time, in other
Yes.
words.
Yes. We just have to have a minimum of 5 students for the course, and then at least 30 to 45 days for us to get it submitted and approved by the state EMS office.
Awesome. I'll just add, I attended the Pyramid Lake Tribal special meeting where they discussed EMS services. The bulk of the meeting was really about service for their own community. It was a very, very short piece where they approved extending the contract till June 30th. I did express our appreciation for, their continued or their past support of Gerlach. And my impression, for whatever it's worth, they're having a lot of their own challenges trying to find enough money to staff services for their community. And I can completely understand how, worrying about how then to also staff services for Gerlach kind of might feel not a high priority, to put it kind of succinctly. They're having their own challenges with funding, and then they were dealing with the whole funding freezes from the government. There's a lot going on. So, but I did on behalf of us express our appreciation for what they've done.
Thank you for going, Christy. That's great. Any more questions for? Okay, thank
Great.
you.
You're welcome.
County Manager Brown update. Hi, Manager Brown.
Hey, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I can't be there with you, but weather being what it is, I decided to phone it in. So I do have an update on EMS, but maybe I'll do that in the next agenda item or the agenda item after Gabrielle. But I do have an update for you on our annual list of accomplishments at the county. And then I'll take any questions. This is the presentation that you've seen before. I've done in prior years. I try to make it to all the cabs during the first quarter, and share, this information that kind of speaks to what county staff has been prioritizing at the suggestion of the commission. As you all know, Washoe County works on a strategic plan format where once a year, this year was January 28th, we get all the commissioners together. We review staff's performance against the things we were asked to do a year ago. We then spend time with them, listening to them, and they get to actually talk to each other publicly about what they see as the key priorities for the year ahead. So that's where these lists come from. And Candy, you're running the show for me? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, 2025, as we look ahead, is a year where we're looking to continue to complete some of the multi-year strategic plan priorities that were started last year or even the year before. And some of the big headlines that you heard us talk about last year were the Commission's direction to improve our seniors' facilities and also programming, the things that we're doing in the senior center. The second is they asked that Washoe County take a lead role in providing mental health services and improving mental health services around Washoe County. And then the third area is in the area of infrastructure. And a lot of that has to do with the remaining ARPA funds that are being put to use in various ways. Next slide. The county continues to be in strong financial shape. We have a structurally balanced budget. The ratings agencies actually upgraded our rating, which is amazing. Our audit came back clean. The board did approve collective bargaining agreements for all of our employee associations, and they're all 4-year terms on those agreements. This is the first time we've ever had 4 years. Normally, it's 2 or 3 years. And the reason I put that in the fiscal management section is that gives us a lot of financial certainty about what our costs are going to be over the next 4 years. Employee costs are about 70% of our expenses between compensation and benefits. So this is a very important accomplishment for Washoe County. We did also implement, or we're implementing a new service called Open Checkbook. I think we're going to call it Washoe Checkbook. This is something that Commissioner Angiola has championed, working with the State Treasurer's Office. State of Nevada implemented this, I think, last fall. And basically what it does is it allows you, the everyday citizen who may not be used to tearing through a bunch of financial jargon, to find it easier to figure out what the county is spending on specific things. So if you want to know how many personnel are in the office of the county manager, or how much did the county spend last year on capital versus operating expenses, that kind of thing. So it'll launch at this point by the end of March. And we're also planning to have a workshop for the public with kind of a budgeting 101 that'll be led by our budget group and Abby Jacobin, our CFO. So all around improving transparency for the public. Next slide, please. We did complete the CARES Campus shelter construction. We also renewed our contracts for the providers who are serving our shelters. That would be VOA, Volunteers of America, for the CARES Campus. It would be Grant Denton and Karma Box for the Safe Camp, and RISE, which provides services to our clients in our place, which is the shelter for women and families. Reason that's important is we entered into original agreements with all these folks as those facilities were open, which were at different times. And the salaries and the arrangements were not consistent. So now we have consistency that makes it a lot better in terms of managing the organizations that are serving those facilities. We did secure $20 million in state funding from the Home Means Nevada Fund, which is basically state ARPA funds. We're using that to build affordable housing on the west side of the CARES campus. So while the shelter itself is completed and associated buildings, we're pivoting now to try to open up additional housing for the lowest end of the market. So this would be 0 to 60% of the average median income folks. This facility will house 50 units, and it is scheduled to open in April. So we're excited about that. We did relocate the Men's Crossroads program, very, very successful program for folks with substance use issues. And we're also opening a family version of Crossroads for those men that have women and children. They don't have to be separated from their families. The last bullet point is the sequential intercept model. Fancy words for let's figure out how to provide mental health therapy and treatment to people who are incarcerated. So the conventional wisdom is you can't rehabilitate folks who are in a correctional facility. You need to put them into a mental hospital or some other facility that's geared for that. Well, that's great if you have those kinds of facilities in your community. We do not. So the city of Miami has demonstrated this sequential intercept model that has been very successful. It was so successful for them they were able to close one of their jails and convert it into a mental health facility. So we have a lot of people in the county, the judges, the sheriff, other folks who have gone down and taken a tour of those facilities, and we're bringing it to Washoe County, and that's another initiative that is starting to show some early results. Next slide. So last year, the board directed staff to hire someone to run our opioid action plan. You've all heard that the state of Nevada, as well as other states, has secured a lot of judgments for against the opioid providers. And so we're using that money this year. We distributed about $4.5 million in grant fund from recovery grant funds, which is the beginning of a 20-year distribution of services against that important need. We did hire behavioral health administrator Julia Ratty, who was former state senator, then came to work for the county health district, and is now in my office. And she is our first behavioral health administrator. And she too has been working on a behavioral health action plan that was approved by the board. She has also been working on the plans to remodel and put into effect the old West Hills Hospital, which we're renaming Washoe Behavioral Health Center. So a lot of good stuff happening there. What you will see is that probably 60% of that 46,000 square foot facility will be dedicated towards kids, youth, juvenile mental health needs, with acute mental health needs, because those facilities simply aren't available in Northern Nevada, not just Washoe County, but anywhere in Northern Nevada. The remainder of the space will primarily be allocated for adults who are what are called subacute mental health needs. So think of the people that we know every night we have people sitting in our jail, sitting in the CARES campus and our other shelters. They're in the emergency rooms around Washoe County. They're really not a danger to the public or to society. They're in those facilities because they have no place else to go and they got mental health issues. So our plan is to use this facility to begin addressing their needs. And then the last bullet point, the board directed that they wanted to see improvements made in our senior centers, both the facilities and the programming that goes into place there. We're actually at our 9th Street facility. It is actually currently closed for remodeling in what is, I think, stage 2 of a 3-stage process that should be completed this spring to improve the quality of the facilities, the kitchen, all that kind of stuff. Next slide, please. Okay, elections. Obviously, elections have been a major area of focus, and in 2024, as you all know, we held 3 successful elections. First was the presidential preference primary in February. Then we had the June primary, and then finally the general election in November. I think we got better with each of those, both from a staffing standpoint and the way they perform, but also certainly from a technology standpoint in terms of the voter management system and election management system. We did partner with the other 16 Nevada counties to implement the new top-down voter registration system and election management system. This was coordinated by the Secretary of State's office, and phase 1 of that implementation is complete. And now that the elections are over, there's a lot of work going on every day on voter list cleanup and improving processes so that when we do get to 2026, we will be able to show improved results. If you didn't see yesterday, the Board of County Commissioners, not yesterday, Tuesday, approved a new registrar of voters for Washoe County. His name is Andrew McDonald. He comes to us from San Diego and Clark County, where he's worked as a deputy registrar of voters, and he really took the reins before the November election and produced solid results. So we're really pleased that we're able to have him in place. Next slide, please. In terms of innovation and some of the accomplishments, you've heard me talk about the regional computer-aided dispatch system. It is on schedule and on budget to be completed this fall, very likely in September, which will mean once it's implemented, Truckee Meadows Fire, RIMSA, Reno Fire, and Sparks Fire will all be on the same dispatch platform. This will be a significant improvement to response times because the dispatcher will be able to see where ambulances or fire equipment are all over the county and route the closest equipment to where the incident is occurring. It's also giving rise, quite frankly, to discussions about further regionalization of our fire services. You probably know there was a concurrent meeting of the Reno, the Sparks, city councils, and the Washoe County Commission about a week and a half. And at that meeting, the councils and the commission directed the three managers, myself, city manager of Reno, city manager of Sparks, to go off and figure out, along with our fire chiefs, what we could do to improve service delivery through regionalization. That does not necessarily mean consolidation. It means doing things in a consistent fashion operationally. So those efforts are underway, and I think we're due to report back to the councils and the commission next month. I also want to point out that we've successfully implemented technology to improve outreach to our citizens and allow our citizens easier access to meetings and proceedings, but also information. And the first example of that would be the development hub that Candy reviews with you as an agendized item so that you can see what kinds of development are happening in or near your community. We also have e-comment. I'll remind you of that because in communities like yours, if you're not able to come down to Reno and the 9th Street to attend the Board of County Commission meeting, you can use e-comment and provide your comments on any of the items on the agenda. And those comments are relayed to the commission and they're presented to them on a district basis. So Jeannie would get to see who's responded from District 5, et cetera. We, as you know, are doing virtual BCC meeting access for your community and for Incline Village. And then finally, we have recently launched a new language translation tool for the hearing impaired or for people for whom English is not their highest proficiency language. It's called Wordly AI, and it's been very well received by those communities who are challenged in terms of being able to hear what's going on in the commission chambers. Okay, next slide. I think this is the last slide. Yeah, so looking at 2025, as you all know, we have committed, and the commission has agreed to continue the CAB program going forward. There has been a lot of input provided to the commission and to staff from the public as well as from the commissioners. We're in the process of taking that input and putting it in revising the ordinances that govern how the cabs operate. We'll also be updating the bylaws. Most of this stuff hasn't been updated in at least a decade. And that will be coming to the commission in a series of meetings, starting with the next meeting on the 25th. And Candy has been a saint working with me and working with the commissioners trying to get that together. I will tell you, it is more involved than I thought it was. I'll just leave it that way, because some of that ordinance language is so dated that it's hard to figure out what they were thinking when they wrote it. I also want to point out that we are still working on a sustainable solution for your fire and EMS service in your community. As you heard earlier, there is discussion going on a lot of different levels. Last time I was here, I think I talked to you about the potential to work with REMSA on the EMS side of the house. That is proving to be very promising in terms of the cost and availability. So we're looking at that. Since I was there last, we also have had discussions with other EMS providers, including Royal. If you're familiar with Royal, I think they supported Burning Man this year during the festival, as well as looking at other solutions for fire as well as EMS service. So I'm not ready to say we're there yet, but I am here to tell you a lot of progress has been made. And I think somewhere between REMSA and Royal and some of the other options, I think we're going to be able to, at least on the EMS side, to come up with something that makes sense and that we can sustain. I talked about the regional CAD implementation. I won't say anything more about that. I talked about West Hills. That is a priority, but I won't say anything about that. We are also doing some work to reset the case workloads between our DA's office, the public defender, and the alt public defender. It's been out of whack ever since COVID, when there were backlogs of cases that occurred. And this has had a negative impact on our ability to work through the caseloads in normal fashion. We also need to look at how those three departments are staffed to make sure that they're harmonized. You will see us also work on community emergency evacuation plans. Kelly Echevarria, who you guys are familiar with, I think she's presented to you multiple times, will be conducting a study with an outside third-party vendor. Again, these plans are another example of something that hasn't been updated in over a decade in many cases. So they'll be looking at specific communities around the county. I don't know which ones yet, in an attempt to update them and make them more relevant to the population sizes, the transportation capabilities of the communities, and how people get in and get out. So you'll be hearing more about that. We are completing also the FEMA floodplain designations. Those updates are taking place in conjunction with FEMA. And the last thing, which is the second to last bullet point, we're doing a lot of work to develop public-private partnership opportunities to pay for stuff that we don't have money to pay for out of the general fund, but could be made feasible using private money to leverage the assets that the county has. So as an example, the affordable housing across the county is, as you know, in high demand. The county has determined, has done an inventory of the empty parcels that we have that are not being utilized, and prioritize those parcels that would make good sites for affordable housing. We are now going to developers who focus on affordable housing and looking at doing arrangements where maybe they take out a 50 or a 100-year lease to use those properties at a very low cost that eliminates the land cost in terms of, and allows for more affordable housing. And then whatever they decide to use the property for, the county would receive royalties on the revenues that the developer achieves. So this is a strategy that's being used in communities across the country. It's being used by the Reno Tahoe Airport to do their expansion and their new rental car facility. So we think we're going to partner with EDON, which is our economic development agency, as you know, to get that done. So that's what I have for you, Madam Chair, this evening, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Manager Brown. Any questions? Christy?
Christy Evans for the record. Manager Brown, it is always lovely to see your face. Sorry you couldn't be here in person, but I really appreciate every year when you come and do this because it's very enlightening. So I've got some questions. One, I really appreciate the update on all the cares and mental health work that the county is doing.
Yes.
Just a little plug for the Leadership Academy. When I was part of it, we got some tours and a lot of information about what they're doing, and it was so impressed with all the work that's being done. So it's wonderful to hear that that's progressing. So thank you for that. The Registrar of Voters, obviously I don't want to get too into it, but it seems like there's been a lot of turmoil in that department.
Yes.
Do you feel like, I don't know why, I haven't really paid attention, but does it feel like it's going to be more stable going forward?
I sure hope so, Christy. The answer is yes. If I may, let me just take a minute and review what's happened over the last 4 years, since 2020, which is when I got here. We had a registrar, if you guys remember, her name was Deanna Spicula. Deanna was a 12-year vet of Washoe County's registrar's office. She got promoted from within and actually was a very talented individual. But the rhetoric around the 2020 elections got so nasty that people made death threats to her. They followed her. They were coming to commission meetings on a consistent basis, accusing her of saying things she didn't say and misleading the public. And as has now been reported, and so I can say it, she broke down and had to resign because of the mental stress. When that happened, we had only a few months to get ready for the presidential preference primary. And so, and at the time we did a recruitment, nobody wanted to come to Washoe County because the public vitriol was so bad. We had garnered a bad reputation. So we got, the list of applications at that time was just not good. So we ended up promoting Jamie Rodriguez, who was our government affairs liaison, excellent government affairs liaison, but really didn't have a lot of experience. And we knew this for running elections or for managing departments. She did the best she could. But then she had some challenges emotionally with the strain. And so I won't keep going, but that has been a consistent theme. And I think the things that give us permission to believe it's going to be better going forward. Number one, we're finally at a staffing level where we have capacity to staff the office properly, to give people a break if they're starting to feel pressure or they need to take some time off. We never had that before. When I got here, there were a total of 5 people in the registrar's office. When we went out and examined best practices, we found out we really needed 17, which is where we are now. So yeah, I think Andrew will do really well. And in the general election last November, even though, you know, it was a huge election with high voter turnout and so forth and so on, I think anybody who has seen our operation over the last 3 or 4 elections would tell you it went very smoothly. So we're happy he's in place.
Thank you for that summary. That's super helpful. I wish him the best of luck, and hopefully people are nice to him. I will say just a personal thing. For the first time in my life, I was a poll worker on election day at Pyramid Lake, and it was a fantastic experience. Everything was organized. I thought it was well done. So for what it's worth.
Great.
Curious, you mentioned regional dispatch. Would that include our area, or is that mostly for the urban center?
It is mostly for urban. It is open to Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe. Don is aware of that, but I think Don is very wary till he sees it up and running and how it works before he makes a commitment. There's also, I think, the question for the smaller agencies like his is, what's it going to cost me?
Right.
You know, Reno, Sparks, Truckee Meadows, RIMSA have worked through interlocal agreements so that the expenses get shared and the costs get allocated. It's not clear how that would work for, let's say, North Lake Tahoe or for Pyramid Lake, but it certainly could be extended to those agencies also.
Got it. And you mentioned obviously we don't have a final solution on Gerlach EMS fire, and I really appreciate you letting us know that that's still a priority. So if REMSA or some other, existing entity were to cover that, that would just be for medical, and we would still have to address the fire.
That's correct. Although I will say Royal, the one that Burning Man uses, and they're a more recent entrant, they contacted us about a week ago. And they actually inquired about how they could maybe also provide a fire option. But we're just going to be meeting with them the first time next week. So I'm hesitant to say too much about that.
Yeah, understood. If one of these outside agencies did that, how does that, like right now our crews come up, they have a house up here, they stay there. Like if we had a sort of Reno-based agency that was doing this, like do they come up in shifts? And maybe you don't know the answers to these yet. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's probably the model that would work. So REMSA is doing this in Tonopah. Which is, another small community that has very similar call types to what you have there in Gerlach and Empire. And that is the model. They found accommodation for these folks. They go up for a certain period of time. I'm not sure whether it's 3 days, 5 days, whatever it is. And then they have people come relieve them. And they go back down in the rotation. So we're still working through that. But the other thing I will say is with the discussion about fire regionalization, I won't say consolidation, I'll say regionalization. That could work in our favor too in your part of the county, because then you could have, if we go with REMSA as an example, REMSA is covered by the countywide franchise agreement with Northern Nevada Public Health. So we wouldn't have to go through all the contract negotiation RFP and all that stuff that held us up when we were working on the tribal agreement that we're operating under now. So again, we'll keep working at it, but we're not quite there yet. But I think the good news is, of all the folks we've talked to, RIMSA seems to be the most eager to do this. And I think it's because they've done it in a similar community, a similar distance away, and it seems to be working.
Got it. And I'm just curious. So since the folks that staff Gerlach Empire, including our sheriff's department, essentially then have to respond up to the border of various states north, and
Yeah.
it's a big area, obviously, and so it's been really helpful. Or I mean, I don't know for them, but it seems helpful to me to have folks that are here on a regular, the same folks here, because they get to know the areas. It's a
Yeah.
vast area. I mean, is there not a benefit to us trying to staff this with people who are going to regularly be here, as opposed to an urban-based agency that, you know, are going to be sending people that wouldn't necessarily know the community in the area?
Yes, and I neglected to mention, RIMSA is talking to Chief Pelt about hiring some of his folks who've already worked up here.
Got it.
So you know, the thought being, if Don has to lay them off and they have experience working in Gerlach Empire and know the lay of the
Right.
land, those are the folks we want.
Yeah, definitely. We, you know, having people up here that know us and especially know this vast area is always
Yeah.
a big bonus. Okay, last question. Thank you again. Emergency evacuation plans. Curious, when the work is done, I'm curious if Gerlach Empire, you know, is there a way that we can actually have a community conversation about that, given that we're kind of on our own and we probably need to be aware of what a plan should be and what we should all be doing? Is that something that kind of down the road, once they kind of review all this, that we could be doing?
Yes, absolutely. That's a part of Kelly's process. We have to have community conversations, especially in communities that are as unique as yours. Incline Village, obviously, is another one where very unique challenges and needs. And so, absolutely, yes.
Awesome. I really look forward to that. Thank you, Manager Brown. I appreciate it.
Russell, you have a question?
Yes, I have two questions. Well, for one thing, thank you for coming, Manager Brown. I'm at the grant conference and I missed you this morning. I was running 10 minutes late, so I missed your opening remarks. I'm sure they were spectacular, and I apologize. Now that I'm familiar with the mysterious second floor of the pepper mill, I don't think it'll happen again.
It is a maze, isn't it, Russell?
It really is. I just have a couple of questions. One was about remote public comment in Gerlach, which has been working out pretty well. I think even though people don't take a lot of advantage of it, I think the fact that they could have and did not, you know, really stops a lot of, you know, echoing complaints around the community that there was an opportunity to speak out. And, you know, having missed that opportunity, we should all hold our peace. One question I do have, though, is there like a formal process by which it's decided if there should be remote comment on specific items? On this week's County Commissioners meeting, there was a master plan amendment and a rezoning application for a parcel in Empire, and there was not public comment from Gerlach available on that item.
You know, Russell, I was told that they did make it available. Let Candy and I check into that for you. Now, I have seen the clerk for Gerlach and for Incline Village see if anybody is interested in making public comment at the beginning of the meeting. And if nobody shows up, I've seen them shut it down, thinking there's no interest. But because I remember the question came up during the meeting, because that item was on the agenda, did we give people up here a chance to comment. And what I understand you to say is you don't think we did.
Well, for one thing, it's a moot point because no one showed up to comment. But I'm asking because it was not on the agenda that public comment would be available on that item. So I didn't keep the community
see.
center open in case somebody would show up because it would have been ours.
Got it. Okay. I think Russell, honestly, I think we might have whiffed on that one. I apologize.
Well, I think there's no harm done in this case because, again, nobody showed up. So I think we got away with it. But, that's if somebody were to appeal this decision, they could always say that they did not have an opportunity to speak in because of that oversight.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And so the second thing I want to ask about is the Royal Ambulance Company, and I am new to the EMS field, but it's my understanding they don't have a deep pedigree as an EMS responder. That they were until the last couple of years, they were primarily a transport service between other care facilities. Is that your impression as well?
I don't know, Russell. I know that Mr. Solaro has looked at it more closely than I have, along with the Burning Man folks. I know the Burning Man folks felt like they did an excellent job during the festival last year. I do, because I talked to Marnie and she was singing their praises. But now that you've mentioned that, we'll make sure we dig a little deeper just to ensure that they're qualified.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. That's all I have. Thank you.
So, Manager Brown, I have a question.
Yeah.
Regarding that, the affordable housing parcels.
Yeah.
There's lots of parcels up here. I don't know if they would qualify. Just, put that on in the back of your head for some other time.
We've tried.
You're right. We have tried. I'm not willing to give up, but I'm flat-footed on that one right now. So
just keeping it in people's mind. That's all.
okay.
Any more questions for Manager Brown? Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Now, as I wrap up, I want you to ask Gabrielle about the grant for 34.
Okay.
It's good news.
All right, Gerlach Art Trail Trailhead update and housing rehab grant update. Hi, Gabby.
Hello. I am also at the conference, so I'm holed up in a hotel room right now. But I want to give you guys an overview of a housing rehab program that Washoe County has engaged with Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada. Meg, their executive director, was going to be here to present with me. She unfortunately had a death in the family, so you get me, and I'm going to go through her presentation with information on the housing rehab program and really our collaborative with that and how that will hopefully help us make some renovations to homes up in Gerlach that need a little housing rehab, or even for homeowners. And we're going to be bundling this together with multiple projects so that we can get some contractors out there to provide the services in Gerlach that are so difficult to get folks to come out and do handyman services or things like that just because of the distance. So we're taking advantage. So I'm getting hot again. We're taking advantage of some economies of scale, hopefully, with a number of projects. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and go through this lovely PowerPoint that Meg has put together. Are you guys seeing my screen?
We can see it.
Awesome. Okay, so the Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada, we've had a previous grant with them through our ARPA funding to assist residents throughout Washoe County to provide some housing rehab, safety, and some critical need housing renovations. And in talking with them, they received a large sum of money from the state of Nevada for rehabilitation, housing rehabilitation, but it was only, they were only eligible to use those funds for the actual rehab and did not receive any of the funding to help them kind of do the work with the homeowner. So Washoe County's funds, we came in and are assisting with that component so they can do assessments, they can do eligibility. And I've asked them to do a special concentrated project in Gerlach just because of the remoteness and the uniqueness of the community. So I'm going to go through their PowerPoint on really what they do specifically for the funds that they have from the state of Nevada for specific populations that are eligible to receive these renovations, basically grant funding renovations for low-income folks and people with disabilities and seniors. However, what they're going to be doing for Gerlach is also inviting homeowners, regardless of income, to submit the survey. And if they have housing rehab work that they'd like done, to bundle into the request for some quotes, we can bundle those together so that we can take advantage of that economies of scale and getting some contractors out there in the community. And Russell and I talked briefly earlier this week as well. You guys are familiar with the SLIP RIF funding that Washoe County is providing to the GGID. And some of those funds have been identified by the GID for some renovations as well. So we're working to kind of three-prong this quote so that we can really get some folks out here and get some pricing that's more reasonable, even though they have to drive 2 hours out to provide those services. So that's kind of the strategy. But what I'm going to be going through is really mostly the piece specific to the grants of renovations. And then feel free to interrupt me and I will try to answer your questions as well as I can for this program. So this is a little quote from Meg Shea. She's the executive director. And of course, we all know how seniors and people with disabilities and folks on limited income have to make tough decisions when it comes to putting food on the table or making these renovations. So this is just a little comment about that. And I did, just so you all know, I sent this PowerPoint as well as a informational flyer and the checklist for the assessment of rehab assessment to Cindy Carter, and she is going to post those on the Facebook and then post the flyer at the post office. So the first thing that we're going to do is they need to collect information. Information about what's needed in the community. So they have opened up a survey with a number of questions. It's not very long. I took it a little while ago. We made some tweaks to it, but really getting an understanding of what are the kinds of services that you're going to need out there. What kind of folks need, fall or flooring or shower or those kinds of things. So they've opened the Gerlach survey, and the flyer has that QR code on it, so it's really easy to access. We also have a link that will be on the Facebook site so that any residents of Gerlach, and this is certainly the low-income residents that'll be eligible for the grant, absolutely want those folks to do the survey, but also any homeowner in Gerlach that wants to kind of participate in this bundling of quotes. Fill out the survey and let us know kind of what services or what renovations you might be interested in.
Hi, Gabby.
So-
Sorry. If anybody wants to come up and take a picture up close while you're in here, that's more than okay. Anytime.
Sure. And so the survey, asks questions about eligibility, of course, so that they can identify the low-income residents that qualify for this assistance, but also other resources that may be available to the higher income homeowners, like I've been mentioning. So they can take the survey now. I've got a slide a little later that has really the timeline for everything, but we want to get started like immediately gathering information. I'm going to move to the next slide. Is that nobody's trying to grab the code, are they?
Yeah, we got it. Thanks.
Okay. All right, great. Let me see how I move this. So who is Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada? They're actually a national nonprofit, and we have a state of Nevada chapter. They focus on repairing houses and have 8 principles of a healthy home, and those are in a slide a little farther down. But the focus is really to revitalize and strengthen communities and to preserve folks in affordable housing. The 8 principles really clear, health and safety kinds of and comfort. Keep it dry, keep it clean, pest-free, safe, contaminant-free, well ventilated, keep it maintained, and thermally controlled. So you can see from this list kind of implies the types of repairs that they work on. And they have a 25-point safety and health priority checklist. That's one of the documents that I sent over to Cindy, so folks can take a look at it and kind of see what's on that list. But they're going to come out and do assessments in folks' homes on a day that we can coordinate and make appointments with people throughout Gerlach so that they can do that assessment. And then they will actually have their handyman also come out. So on that day, some repairs may actually take place right there. So if there's grab bars to be set up or lighting or things like that, some of that will happen, can happen that day when they do that first assessment. So they do kind of 3 different programs. One is Safe at Home, so it's really focusing on smoke detectors and CO2 detectors. Fall prevention is very important, helping seniors to be able to stay in their homes, making their homes a lot safer by including ramps and grab bars and more lighting. And then just minor accessibility repairs, maybe, new rug or something so that it's not a trip or a fall hazard, those kinds of things. Additionally, on the bigger renovations are really critical home repairs like plumbing, electrical, flooring, carpentry, HVAC, and those are all performed by licensed contractors. I believe the maximum award per home is $20,000 worth of repairs. So they can really make a big difference. Increase, and this is a nice little slide showing some of the work that they've done. And of course, we all understand the impact of really improving one's home and making it more accessible and safer. Rebuilding Northern Nevada, they work primarily with low-income homeowners, families, people with disabilities, folks that are retired and military. And I know the funds that they have right now does have a specific eligibility for people who are veterans, I believe. So this piece is the grant focus. So eligibility for no-cost home repairs and modifications. I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but I do have this, this whole slide's available for everybody. I wanted just an opportunity for folks to see there for the no-cost home repairs and those grant services. Of course, there's an eligibility and paperwork and everything that comes along with that for a home rehab program. More list of supporting documents that are required. And then here's our timeline. What happened? There we go. Okay. This is one of those slides. Cool. So we're starting now. February 13th through March 13th is going to be the survey and participation. Everybody that has any need, please go in and fill out that survey. They're going to begin doing intake and eligibility on February 17th. That's going to run for a month. And then next, scheduling the assessment. That's the day when they'll come out, or days that they'll come out to Gerlach, go through homes, do that 25-point assessment, and then do some of the handyman. Some of those repairs may happen that same day as well. And then in May, they'll implement the assessments. So that's, again, May, that's what we were just talking about. And then once the assessments are done, we'll be able to identify all the renovations that are needed, and then do a request for proposals and seek contractors to come in and do the work. So with the plan of starting those renovations, having all that, engaging the contractors happening between May and June, and July through September, having those renovations made in folks' homes.
Abby, can I get number 5 on the screen, please?
There we go. So 5 is the approval of the projects and the scopes. So that's developed so that we can do our request for qualifications or request for proposals, and then vet and hire the contractors. 6 is the actual repairs, having things come over and having the repairs scheduled and completed. And then the last piece is that final inspection and inspected by Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada, so that they and the homeowner can sign off on the work that it was done in the way it was intended. Sponsors, so of course, Washoe County is assisting with the work that Rebuilding Northern Nevada is doing to work with the community and community members and doing that contracting work. And then the State of Nevada Housing Division, through some ARPA funding, is doing those grant funds to complete the eligible grant service renovations. Got a number of testimonials of very happy and satisfied folks with some renovations to their homes. Some lighting outside that really helped her feel safer and more comfortable when she comes home at night. And just a little testimonial information, the wonderful things that folks say when they are able to have a safer and more comfortable home. These folks are the board of directors and the staff. You can see Meg right there in the middle. You will probably be meeting Meg when they do the assessment. I know she wanted to be here this evening, but you'll meet her at another time. So it's a little bit of information on the contractor partnership. So this is another advantage to being able to work with Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada. They do that, they vet the vendor that's coming out and the contractor, and they follow them, they do the management, and work closely with the homeowner as well. So that's another advantage. And they provide at least a 1-year warranty for all of the work that is done per state regulations.
Thanks. That was absolutely lovely, Gabby. I know how much you love us up here. I did have one question. We kept saying Gerlach Empire, but we are actually 2,200 square miles, as Christy mentioned earlier. Is this open to our people that are up in Duck Flat, Fish Springs, all the other areas?
Absolutely. So as far as the location, I think let's have a chat with, certainly we want to serve everybody up in northern Washoe County. It'll be logistics to be worked out with Meg. As when they come up to do the assessment, how they can arrange and schedule for.
Yeah, maybe take them on different days or weeks or so, because I just paid $300 for a guy to come out and look at my mini split and tell me he can't do anything. So yeah, this is going to help tremendously.
A mini split is like, and I actually had that conversation with Rebuilding Northern Nevada about a mini split, because I'm putting one in portion of my house, and they're great, and it does not take a contractor necessarily to do that, but that's one of the things that we expect that could be a real benefit, is putting in some of those, as well as the fall stuff is great.
Yeah, the electrical, the plumbing, all of it. It will help so many people up here. There is a lot on here about having to own your home, and some of us do. Plenty of people out here don't. And I understand fixing up somebody's rental property may not fit in with their ethos. But,
I'm not sure how, certainly the list of and the work that they do with the state funding is specifically for homeowners. But I think it's definitely, if we have a lot of folks that are renting, there may be something that we can do. And I know other housing rehab programs that I've been involved with have had an opportunity to work with a landlord, depending on the tenants. And
yes,
I can't speak to whether or not that's possible with this program. That would be something we'd have to check in with Meg on.
Okay. Yeah, but I'll keep that on my list for Meg. And this sounds absolutely phenomenal. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Christy has a question.
Hi, Gabby. Thank you so much for this. This is wonderful. So if I understand correctly, you've given this to Cindy Carter. She's going to put out the information. Do we have a plan to put this in our post office? Is that more a question for
Yes.
Cindy?
So I gave it to Cindy, and I asked her to post it in the post office, and I heard back from her today. She's posting it in the post office.
Good. And I guess I'm glad, for everyone that's in the room, in case we have some folks that maybe aren't online, aren't reading Facebook, that might be interested, for us to pass that word around. And then go ahead.
I can send some physical flyers also. I can print some up and send them up to the GGID so that you guys can have some in the community center and really distribute to everybody out there, because I think the more taking advantage of this opportunity to kind of have multiple services provided at the same time, I think is going to be really beneficial.
Yeah. And if I understand correctly, and I appreciate you thinking ahead about including homeowners that may not fit the income level, but we all struggle with getting people out here. So for that, we fill out the survey. Everyone should fill out the survey. And then the repairs, whether it's through the program or just kind of tacking on, would all be in that July, September timeframe as well. Right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. This timeframe will be the same. Certainly, they'll be contracting with the homeowner instead of through Rebuilding Together Northern Nevada, but Rebuilding Northern Nevada will do the bidding, so you don't have to deal with all that. And so that'll be helpful for getting people out to Gerlach and hopefully get some prices that are a little more reasonable for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the work that's gone into this. This is great. That's all I have.
You're very welcome.
Any more questions for Gabby? Okay, thank you very much. That sounds really cool.
Awesome. Looking forward to coming out when we're doing that. I would love
Yeah.
to be a part of
We-
that.
Awesome. County Manager Brown update. Oh, what's next?
I don't think I have anything else. Gabby, you gonna tell them about the grant?
Oh, right. The grant, the trailhead and stuff, and the Highway 34.
Oh, I would love to tell. So this, I can't take credit for this one because this went through CSD. So I know you guys all we've applied multiple times to get to a FLAP grant and to a RISE grant and every acronym there is to repair the road on County Route 34 because it takes a little beating every year. And we've been unsuccessful multiple times, but they reapplied to the FLAP grant, which is access to recreational public lands, and were awarded $20 million. So it's a good chunk to get that work done. They're negotiating right now with the federal agency, and it looks like it is moving forward where a lot of things are kind of stalled a little bit right now. But super good news. I'm super excited after we've submitted so many applications. It's going to happen. It's going to take a while because it's a whole process, and they're beginning with the NEPA. You guys are all familiar with the environmental review that always has to happen when it's federal funds, but there's definitely success. It's coming.
That's exciting news. That's great. How about any information on the trailhead, Art Trail trailhead?
The trailhead, I really, so
No,
I've been working
Russell
with,
has a question.
oh, go ahead, Russell.
Yes, that $20 million is not just for County Route 34, is it?
I think it is.
Yes, it is.
Very nice.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's 8 miles from the Y up to the 8-mile marker. I think we actually asked to get up to the 12-mile marker.
We usually do, yeah, because 12 mile is where Burning Man is the cutoff.
Wonderful.
It's so expensive. 8's better than, we're
Than
2/3.
none.
Best outcome we could possibly have hoped for, because usually it's no.
Yeah, we keep trying, and you know we get a little more successful each time. So improve our ask. So on the trailhead, we've been working with Alicia at the Nevada Land Trust, and it's unfortunately more complicated than we had imagined. So things are taking a little bit longer. We will be, and honestly, a number of the delays are really staffing on my team. We wanted to move things a little bit faster, and I've had some staff turnover, which is always a little challenging. But we have SLFRF funding set aside for some of the activities that we want to do with the art trailhead there. We really are, that first domino is the trailhead site. So we need to iron out some of those legal issues related to the land that's owned by the GID and how we secure that land as a permanent recreational site. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Land Trust is helping us navigate through some of that technical legal issues on the land and setting it aside for a permanent use for recreation.
And oh, that's weird.
Any other questions on that?
Russell has a question.
Yes, well, more of a comment. We've had an election and we have a couple new board members for GGID. So you might want to maybe come to the next meeting and bring up this plan that we've discussed before, because a couple of our board members have never heard it before.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And maybe talk about what we're looking for to move forward. I know there was some disagreement in the past about who would retain ownership of the parcel and who would be responsible for maintenance. Our previous board, they were concerned about getting stuck having to maintain it without any appropriate revenue to defray that cost.
Okay.
So they're worried about an unfunded mandate. All of our income comes from the utilities that we provide to our customers, and we can't charge for parks. So they're worried that another park is going to force them to raise utility rates.
I see. Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I will, I'll target that next March. We're already in March. I'll target attending that next meeting and working towards that with Alicia so we can bring an update.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Gabby.
You're welcome. It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Can't wait to see you in person.
Me too. Take care.
Neighborhood Development Hub. Hi, Candy.
Hey, everyone. Good to see everyone. Candy Ramos for the record. I am going to share my screen, which is our Neighborhood Development Hub. And I know we go over this every month, but I think it never hurts just to share it so that you're always familiar with it and you're aware of any upcoming neighborhood developer meetings. This is our map. As you can see, here's Pyramid Lake. Here's the Black Rock Desert. You have no special polka dots. So the special polka dots represent, upcoming meetings or developments that might be coming. There are none coming up over here. There are none outlined over here. These always in this list correlate with these dots over here. So the only upcoming event we have in Washoe County is the High Desert Armory, which is in Washoe Valley. So there are no upcoming developer meetings. I know I go over with you all each month how to sign up to receive emails about developer meetings. You can either do that through your district list, which is District 5 for Gerlach, or you can sign up for neighborhood developer meetings. Does anyone have any questions on that? Because I know I do it every month, so I just wanted to make sure if anyone has any questions, I can show you, but I don't want to bore you.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, that's all I have to say. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Candy. Commissioner and board member items. Does the board have any items? Shotzi?
But Candy, I could listen to you all night. Don't worry about it. And thanks for all your hard work. And Mr. Eric Brown, Mr. County Manager Brown, I want to restate my thanks for the broadband. It has been a lifesaver and absolutely wonderful. And after reading all that Channel 4 news about what's going up in Lovelock, you are a master planner, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Try to get up to see you guys in person in March.
Oh, that'd be great. Christy?
Christy Evans, I just want to say to Gabby and Candy and Eric, thank you for taking time out of your evenings to be here. This has been a meeting chock full of really great information. So I really appreciate it, and very exciting about County Road 34 and the rehab and all this stuff, like really great stuff. So thanks for being here. And we look forward to seeing you in person. And I also want to say thank you. We've had some folks in the audience tonight that don't normally come here. So thank you for being here at our community meeting.
Have one here. Candy, I was wondering, because we talked about the Zoom meetings here, and Russell had mentioned, of course, that we'd missed, maybe flubbed that one. I forgot to show up, so my bad. But can we get a mailing to all the people who live in the 5th District talking about that? I don't know if that we have the budget for that, because I don't know if Duck Flats and all those other people are aware that if they don't want to drive all the way to Reno, mostly this side of the mountains, they can pop in here and sit down and talk to you folks.
Like a mailing for a cab.
Well, CAB, GGID, I mean, consolidate the postcards. Hey, Gerlach GGI or building is open for meetings, and the county commissioners have authorized Zoom comments on adjacent and agenda items and public comment.
I'm sure there might be some creative ways for us to do some outreach to rural northern Washoe County. So let me put my thinking cap on and talk about it with our communications director and also look at our budget. I know we've sent postcards before and it created a lot of problems actually. But that's not to say that there aren't ways that we can communicate to northern Washoe County, rural, that there are opportunities for them either at the CAB or through virtual public comment. So let me look into that.
Yep, and that was the word I wanted, outreach. Good job.
Thanks.
Manager Brown, do you have any more information?
No, ma'am.
Any more board member items? Any general public comment? I'm going to make a motion to adjourn, or do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Ern?
Move we adjourn.
Any
Good night,
seconds?
guys.